back to Barnstable This Morning, just about 10 minutes past the top of the hour. And Tom Lynch here in studio. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Did you have a nice weekend?
I did. It's too short, you know, they just go by so quickly.
Well, this weekend was a little different because we were watching the weather all weekend to determine how we could, you know, continue on with the cleanup of our secondary roads. And, Dan Santos and I had spoken on Saturday, and had devised a plan to, his team had devised a plan to let the Saturday weather warm up some of the hard pack that's there. Along with the rain, they felt they could move some of the slush around and help widen those roads and clean up those roads on beginning, let's see, they were going to begin on Sunday at noon and then try to do it for 8 hours. So, but the weather doesn't always cooperate the way you would hope, and Sunday, Dan and I got together, and he was actually out in a plow, and he had a couple of his senior people out in plows, and they were doing a couple of sample roads, and were discovering that while they were scraping some of the slush down, they're really creating more of a hazard with a very icy situation. So they regrouped and decided that they had enough salt to do a 4-to-1 mixture, and felt they could salt all the secondaries within the same period of time and reduce some of the hazardous conditions that might exist with the freeze that we were expecting. So that was the plan. They were out again this morning doing the main roads. As I was coming in this morning, they had already sanded a couple of those, many of those. So you can never predict what's going to happen because it's weather dependent, and it's you know, resources and making sure that you can make the roads as safe as possible. So we'll keep evaluating it until we get back to bare pavement on all of our roads throughout town.
Indeed, and I think it is going to be, you know, sometime. It's cold out there. The weather is the way it is. I will say I was very happy to see the rain coming down on Sunday morning. That was nice, but you know.
Until it turned into snow.
Yeah.
And we're saying, how'd that happen? Thought it was going to be 40 degrees.
To rain, exactly. But you know, we'll have to wait and see. So some new police officers were sworn in last week.
You know, on Friday there were 4 new police officers. We had funded them in this current budget. It was, you know, it's a lengthy process to get these individuals actually out onto the out on the street, and I'm sure the chief will probably talk more about that process when he's on later on in the week. But I was, you know, again impressed with the quality of individual that they're able to attract into the police department. I told them that I felt that they were our frontline people. We rely on them, of course, for public safety. They're also, along with the DPW, the folks who are out there the most, and the professionalism and the way that they interact with each of us, you know, over the course of their careers is going to reflect on the town as a whole. And I believe that the bar has been set very high by those men and women who have come before these individuals because they have had a degree of professionalism and service to the public. So it's a happy day. You know, the family is there, and a lot of the officers, you know, they've been there for a few years. So they're looking back at their career and remembering when they first started out and what that was like. So they've got some good teachers there because we've got some very good people that are moving up through the ranks. So I was very pleased to be able to participate in that, and it was a very uplifting ceremony.
Yeah, and you know, that first year on the job, I think especially with something like being a new police officer is really an exciting time. You know, you're learning, you are getting used to things, and perhaps your expectations are changing. I think that sometimes you walk into a job thinking it's going to be one way, and sometimes things change, but really I'm excited for these new officers.
Well, and I think also the thing I've seen just with our community impact unit or the street crimes unit or other aspects to the police department, they don't know where their career is going to take them. Right now, they're a patrol officer. They're going to be, as you just pointed out, learning a lot, and yet they may find that there are other aspects to the law enforcement profession right within the Barnstable Police Department that they can get additional training in and have additional expertise in and have a very rewarding career. So there are a lot of opportunities for those 4 young men, and hopefully that they'll have very successful careers with us.
Indeed, and we'll talk with the chief a little bit more about that and when he
Right.
joins us on tomorrow's show. Last thing I wanted to talk about, Tom, is the initial assessment of the West Barnstable shooting range. And this, correct me if I'm wrong, is more kind of geared towards the environment and for the potential for lead in the area.
Well, it has 2 aspects.
Okay.
The lead aspect in determining, you know, the scope of where the lead might be, that was one aspect of the study. And the second was to look at what sort of remediation you might do, either with the lead or with, if you, and we're not going to have a shooting range, or if you were going to have a shooting range, what sort of remediation you would do. So the authors are very careful to say this is an initial assessment, and that, you know, there are multiple options that spin off of all of the possibilities that, you know, that they outline. So they talked about 3 areas that they were working on. One was the perimeter of lead distribution, and that became the whole lead management area. The other was the lead concentrations within that perimeter. And then also they wanted to develop cost estimates for either remediating the site or for continuing on with a shooting range. And I found the report, the initial report, certainly to be quite thorough. They cite areas where you'll need additional study. The lead management area, we think of the 16 areas that we've defined as a shooting range as the area that we would need to do cleanup in. It actually looks like it's extended out beyond that. They went out beyond found lead concentration, so it says to me that at some point in time we're going to have to do a more thorough study to make sure that when cleanup begins, and that's something that councils have all talked about wanting to do, then we want to make sure we're encompassing the entire area. So there were some fairly high concentrations of lead found. They went on to, after defining all those sites where they found lead, they then talked about the skeet range, the shotgun range, they talked about the rifle range, they talked about the pistol range, and what you would need to do within each of those. And then they made some cost estimates as to what it would take to clean it up. There are a lot of rules and regs that, you know, kick into play here, and when you're going to be disposing of lead, which is a toxic element, of course, beyond a certain concentration, you have to dig that soil out. All that soil has to be transported out of state to various, so there's a lot of costs that's in here. They estimated the cost for remediation of the site, where you would not be operating a range again, would be between $7.5 million and $9.5 million.
Wow.
Then there was also discussion about, you know, if you kept the rifle range and the shooting range and the pistol range, perhaps there could be a cleanup within that area of about $2.5 million, and then you'd clean up this lead management area as you went along. There's a lot here to think about, and there are a lot of policy questions that the council is going to have to be looking at. You know, these are not monies that we had programmed into our budget.
Right.
You know, this report was a $25,000 expenditure from our general funds. This has always operated as an enterprise account, in other words, supported by the fees by the users, and we're moving into a different realm now, and we'll have to have some serious discussions about how the council wants to proceed and where we find the monies to do the cleanup and additional studies, and also the cleanup. So,
Indeed.
and I'm expecting that, you know, I've spoken to several councilors about this report so far. They've asked questions of me, which is the reason we're having Dick Petticoat here on Thursday, so that they can get those questions out there and to help them form their opinions as they look how to move forward on this policy question.
Great. Well, Tom, we'll look forward to hearing more from Dick, and I thank you so much, as always, for coming by to join us.
Thank you very much,
Thanks
Sarah.
so much. Tom Lynch is our town manager here in the town of Barnstable. Next, we're continuing our conversations with town councilors with Paul Keith.